Hey everybody, it's Glenn, back in this video with Action Figure Evolution, the series where I trace back through the years the various action figure incarnations of one particular character. Here of course our focus is Apocalypse, and in part 1 we travelled back to his very first action figure and then a number of subsequent ones, leaving us in 1997, and that's exactly where this part picks things up. It's X-Men Onslaught Apocalypse Rising, and on the heels of the play features of the Super Shooter and Missile Flyers versions firmly targeting the Kiddywinkles, it's a bit of a relief to see the word collector on the packaging, but don't get too excited as the collector standard was a fair bit lower in 1997 than it is nigh 2 decades later now. That said, as we look at the packaging back, it is at least comic based, focusing as the title suggests on the Onslaught saga, albeit the gene in this series is a nonsensical Attack of the 50-foot woman scale that places her as tall as both Apocalypse and Onslaught. Here he is out of packaging and comic based, I weren't kidding, as the action figure is in fact based on just this single panel, with Apocalypse awakening from a healing slumber. My love for the storyline from which this springs makes it a sentimental favourite of mine. Beyond that, it achieves a level of complexity in the paint application that we never saw in the previous part, in that his mummy wraps and musculature have been recipient of a paint wash or some dry brushing to further accentuate the dimensionality of the sculpt. Better still, instead of firing a curious missile out of an even more curious orifice, his accessory instead is another nod to the comics. It's Ozymandias, Apocalypse's enslaved servant composed of living stone. He is just on a wheelie base that he rotates on, but his inclusion is a nice touch, and you have to feel sorry for this guy, as it's likely this poor sucker that has to do all of Apocalypse's tasks that are even beneath the horseman. Fix him lunch, take his trash out, drop off his dry cleaning, that kind of stuff. And just as we take one step forward, we then take 2 steps back with Marvel's Shapeshifters Apocalypse. Released in 1999, and as such I took it as a sign of the end of days. Yet in spite of its release, a new millennium did in fact roll around. Technically Apocalypse is a shapeshifter, so his inclusion in the line is a bit more logical than say Wolverine transforming into a wolf. Yet the line is most notorious for its Punisher, which in transforming into a gun looks like this. While Apocalypse also becomes a gun, he's a bit more family friendly, essentially becoming the Megatron of the Marvel Universe, I suppose. And you gotta think that's what Toy Biz were going for here, attempting to take a bite out of the always popular Transformers pie. Of course, in 2006, when the Marvel toy license transferred from Toy Biz to Hasbro, we got actual Marvel Transformers, what with it being Hasbro where the Transformers brand resides. So let's shapeshift him into gun form. Oh, screw it. In 2002, Toy Biz embarked on a bold new direction by giving Marvel Legends to the world, and in 2004's Series 7, Apocalypse made his Marvel Legends debut. Marvel Legends represented quite the leap for action figures, bringing the more considered sculpting and paint applications seen with the likes of McFarlane Toys, yet combined that with superposability. That said, I'm not sure Apocalypse here is the best showcase for that. Don't get me wrong, it exists on another level above and beyond much we've looked at. It's just something about the stocky proportions makes him really rather squat, while I'm willing him to be dynamic. Ultimately, I'd love to hail it as the definitive action figure of the character, yet while good, it's lacking that certain something preventing me from doing that. Taking a closer look at the head sculpt, and I like the piercing red eyes, but something about the expression makes him quite gorilla looking. Certainly it ticks the box when it comes to menace, but with that I'd like to see a bit more to the sculpt, some kind of look of intelligent disgust that Apocalypse often wears across his face. More positively, when I hyped the superposability of Legends, we can see Toybiz hyped it too, and rightfully so, with a whopping 34 points here. To put that in perspective, the very first Apocalypse we looked at in part 1 from 1991 had just 9 points of articulation. And while a character like Apocalypse doesn't make for the best posing, it does mean he can wag a mean pointy finger at you. Seriously though, it's really quite remarkable engineering. Plus he comes with a display base tipping the hat to the character's ancient Egyptian origin, firstly in the form of the scarab and secondly in some obelisks lining the back of the base. It's nice. In theory, in practice it's small relative to the figure and with the pegs on the base closer together than you would want to actually stand the figure. However, I shouldn't grumble about the display base, as by producing the figure alone, no doubt Toybiz were seriously eating into their own profit margins. The following year and Marvel Legends Series 12 brought us Apocalypse again. Not this time as a figure in the series, but as parts packed with each of the action figures in the series, a Build-A-Figure, which has now become a signature of the line, with this Apocalypse Bath being the 4th one in the history of Marvel Legends. Coming in at a whopping 15 inches, he dwarfs every other version we've looked at, plus it puts to shame the size of Hasbro's Build-A-Figures of today. That might be a reflection of increasing production costs since 2005, or Hasbro's tight-fistedness. Maybe a bit of both. Side by side with the Series 4 Apocalypse, and the size aside, the Bath has the dynamically proportioned look that I wish the Series 4 one had, with the triangulated torso, a cinched waist, and then those huge broad shoulders. And as far as the head sculpt go, the Bath puts the regular one in the shade, the expression bringing that intelligent disgust I was hoping for previously. Now what with having complete molecular control over his body, Apocalypse is able to increase his size, yet in the comics I best remember him being the type to pull the strings from afar while his horsemen do his dirty work for him, leaving Giant Apocalypse entering into the fray, something I best remember not from the comics but from the X-Men vs Street Fighter video game. That featured Giant Apocalypse as an end boss. And tracking back to 1998, Apocalypse appears alongside Dalsim in a 2-pack. You can click this link for a closer look at that set, and maybe one of you can help me out, but I don't ever remember Apocalypse rocking this black colour scheme in the comics. Is it just from the video game? As the black colour scheme of the Bath is actually a variant, with the regular Build-A-Figure being in the more familiar Apocalypse blue colour scheme. Albeit with mine showing off arms customised by yours truly in classic 90s toy weapon arms style. As I said earlier, with the Marvel toy license transferring in 2007 from Toybiz to Hasbro, and so we have Hasbro's first version of the character, albeit at the other end of the spectrum from Marvel Legends, it's Marvel Superhero Squad Apocalypse. This one being the one that came in a 2-pack with a more regularly sized beast, well, regularly sized where Superhero Squad is concerned, which is like 2.5 inches. That regular scale also seen here in Cyclops, yet for Apocalypse's upgrade in size, he stays just as cute.
Everything they built will fall, and from the ashes of their world we'll build a better one.
But here I'm not sure if it's the stylized proportions combining with him being so gosh darn cute, it makes him a guilty pleasure for me. Sticking with Hasbro but turning to their Marvel Universe line, Wave 13 of which brought Apocalypse. Now Marvel Universe is a 3 3/4 inch scale, and generally I'm a 6-inch scale collector. Personally I just feel that scale provides a larger canvas for a sculptor to commit a more detailed sculpt. And to that end I often find much of the Marvel Universe line somewhat lacking. Yet here Apocalypse is one of those exceptions, as the sculpt for the most part is really detailed. And the paint application brings a nice contrast between the flat grey and the glossy metallics. Plus it represents a redesign of the character from the comics at that time, as such it's nice to have record of it in plastic. Personally, I'm not sure Apocalypse needed any more inexplicable hoses, but here we get them. The head sculpt is pretty solid, for its scale better than the 6-inch scale Series 7 Legends one, I think. Plus some nice shading to further accentuate his expression. The red paint of the eyes could be a bit crisper though. bringing us near up to date with 2015's Minimates Apocalypse, released by Diamond Select Toys, them of Marvel Select fame, and I wish they'd give Apocalypse the Marvel Select treatment, as I think they'd create something pretty special. But focusing instead on what they did make, and this Apocalypse came packed with Superior Iron Man in sets released based on the comics Axis storyline. Minimates are block figures, but with 14 points of articulation, more than you'd expect of a block figure. I have to thank my friend and fellow YouTuber Rob D21 Beast Pollock for sending me this to include here. You can check out his channel, link in the description beneath this video, and as requested by a number of people, I've opened a PO box, the address of which is also down there if you want to send me anything. Ultimately, Minimates are not really my thing, but I envy the character selection, as with some characters, if you want a toy of them, often Minimates would be your only option. And now we're bang up to date with the release of the X-Men Apocalypse movie and the character hitting the silver screen. And here is the action figure from the movie. Ha! I'm taking a cheap shot, I know, but it'll likely be a crowd pleaser. As for the future, this year it seems Marvel Legends will be putting X-Men action figures back in vogue, albeit with a Juggernaut as the Build-A-Figure, whereas I had crossed my fingers for a new Apocalypse one. Yet if those sell well, who knows what might come down the pipeline. Meanwhile, Marvel Legends roll on into my collection with an unboxing video coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And big thanks to all those who in the comments of part 1 acknowledged all the time and effort I put into these videos. It's certainly encouraging for me to read, as it is for you to hit that thumbs up button, so please take a quick second to do that right now, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye.